is a kingdom on this earth that the modern world spent centuries trying to find. And when it finally found it, it could not quite believe what it was looking at. No billboards, no fast food chains. Instead, ancient monasteries pressed against cliffsides as though they grew there naturally. Monks in crimson robes walking paths older than most nations. Forests so protected, so deliberately preserved, that they cover over 70% of the entire country. Not by accident, but by constitutional law. And above all of this, mountains, enormous, sacred, and so deliberately untouched that the highest peak in the entire kingdom, Gangkhar Puensum, the tallest unclimbed mountain on earth, has never had a single human footprint on its summit, not because no one tried, but because Bhutan decided some things are too sacred to be conquered. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a utopia invented by a travel writer on a good day. This is Bhutan, the last Himalayan kingdom. And it has been quietly redefining what it means to be a successful nation for centuries, tucked deep within the folds of the eastern Himalayas, landlocked between two of the world's most powerful nations, China to the north and India to the south. Bhutan occupies just 38,394 square kilometers of some of the most dramatic landscape on this planet. In terms of land area, it ranks 133rd in the world. In terms of population, just over 727,000 people call it home, fewer than many individual cities elsewhere on Earth. And yet, this tiny kingdom has done something that vast, wealthy, powerful nations have consistently failed to do. It chose its people's well-being over everything else. For most of its history, Bhutan existed in deliberate isolation. No television until 1999, no internet until 2000. Not because it lacked the means, but because it was deeply, carefully selective about what kind of outside world it was willing to let in. While neighboring civilizations were being colonized, carved up, and reshaped by foreign powers, Bhutan remained sovereign. It was never colonized. Not once. A remarkable fact that speaks volumes about the quiet, unshakable strength of its identity. Bhutan calls itself Druk Yul, the land of the thunder dragon. And that name alone tells you something important. This is not a kingdom that describes itself softly. The thunder dragon is not tame. It is powerful, ancient, and commands deep respect. The state religion is Vajrayana Buddhism, a philosophy that does not merely guide spiritual life here, but shapes governance, architecture, education, and the very rhythm of daily existence. The Khenpo, the spiritual leader, holds a position of influence equal to royalty itself, and at the center of everything Bhutan stands for. One radical, revolutionary idea that changed how the entire world thinks about progress. That a nation's greatest achievement is not its wealth, it is the happiness of its people. Today, we step inside the Thunder Dragon Kingdom and nothing about this journey will feel ordinary.
This way of life, it's very difficult to really separate Bhutanese culture from Buddhism. Everything in life that Bhutanese believe and Bhutanese do as a way of life is very much influenced by Buddhist principles and way of thinking.
To truly understand Bhutan, you must understand how dramatically its land changes as you move through it, because Bhutan is not one landscape. It is three entirely different worlds stacked on top of each other. In the south, where Bhutan meets India, the land is low, warm, and lush. Subtropical plains called the Duars stretch across the border. Humid, forested, and alive with extraordinary biodiversity. The wildlife of Bhutan here is unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. The rare Himalayan takin, a creature so unusual it looks like nature assembled it from spare parts, roams these forests alongside the golden langur, clouded leopards, and over 700 species of birds. Bhutan is not simply a country. It is one of the world's most important biodiversity hotspots, hidden in plain sight from both the harshness of the high peaks and the heat of the southern plains. These fertile river valleys became the heartbeat of Bhutanese life. The Paro, Thimphu, and Punakha valleys are where ancient fortresses were built, where monasteries still echo with centuries of chanting, and where the capital Thimphu sits today. Dondon Nandar, the only capital city in the world with no traffic lights, choosing instead to manage its intersections with white-gloved traffic officers. Further north still, the land becomes something altogether more extreme. Peaks exceeding 7,000 meters pierce the clouds. Glaciers stretch across vast highland plateaus, and the air thins to a point where human settlement becomes nearly impossible. This geography, this dramatic vertical journey from subtropical jungle to frozen peak, is not just scenery. It is the explanation for everything that makes Bhutan unique. Now, step back into history. Long before Bhutan had borders or a name, it was a collection of isolated valleys, each governed independently, connected by nothing but Buddhism that gradually spread here from the Pala Empire of Bengal during the first millennium. For centuries, these valleys remained fragmented, spiritually connected, but politically divided. That changed entirely in the 17th century with the arrival of one extraordinary man, Jabdrung Ngawang Namgyal, a Tibetan Buddhist leader who fled religious rivalry in Tibet. Namgyal arrived in Bhutan and accomplished what no one before him had managed. He unified the scattered valleys into a single, coherent state. He defeated 3 consecutive Tibetan invasions, established the Tiza Yig legal code, and built a network of dzongs, magnificent fortress monasteries that simultaneously served as administrative centers, military strongholds, and spiritual anchors for every major valley. These dzongs still stand today, almost exactly as he left them. Then came the Wangchuck dynasty in the early 20th century, a monarchy that steered Bhutan with extraordinary care through centuries of regional turbulence. In 1910, the Treaty of Punakha secured Bhutan's internal autonomy while navigating the complexities of British imperial presence in the subcontinent. And in 1971, Bhutan formally joined the United Nations, finally stepping, on its own terms, into the international community, not as a nation that had been shaped by the world, but as a nation that had quietly, deliberately shaped itself. When winter descends upon Bhutan, it does not arrive gently. It arrives like a verdict. In the northern highlands, temperatures plunge to -20 degrees and beyond. Glaciers that tower over ancient villages groan and shift under the weight of fresh snowfall. Mountain passes that connect communities to the outside world disappear entirely, buried under meters of snow, sealed shut for weeks, sometimes months. Roads vanish, supply routes collapse, and entire communities find themselves completely, utterly alone, with nothing but each other and whatever they had the wisdom to prepare beforehand. This is not an emergency in Bhutan. This is simply winter, and the people here have been surviving it with remarkable grace for centuries. The traditional Bhutanese home itself tells the story of a people who deeply understand their climate. Built from stone, timber, and rammed earth, these structures are engineered specifically for cold survival. Walls are thick enough to hold warmth long after the fire dims. The lower floors house livestock during winter, not simply for the animals' protection, but because the body heat of cattle and yaks rises naturally through the floor above, providing a form of living insulation that no modern heating system could replicate more organically. The yak is perhaps the single most important animal in highland Bhutan's survival story, covered in thick, sweeping coats of fur, able to navigate icy terrain that would defeat most creatures. The yak provides milk, meat, wool, and transportation in conditions where everything else fails. Bhutanese highland communities have built their entire winter economy around this extraordinary animal, and treating a yak poorly here is not just considered unwise, it is considered a spiritual failing. Food preservation becomes an art form as winter approaches. Dried meats, fermented vegetables, and emadachi, Bhutan's beloved national dish of chilies and cheese, are prepared and stored in quantities that must last entire seasons. The chili here is not merely flavoring. In brutal cold, the intense heat of Bhutanese chilies genuinely warms the body from the inside, a culinary survival strategy disguised as a national obsession. But perhaps the most powerful survival tool in Bhutan's winter arsenal is neither food, nor shelter, nor livestock. It is faith. When the snow closes every road and silence swallows every valley, the monasteries remain open. Butter lamps burn through the darkest nights. Monks chant through the coldest mornings. And ordinary families gather together, pray together, and remind each other of the same truth that has carried this kingdom through every brutal winter it has ever faced. That spring always returns. There is a question that every civilization eventually faces. What are we actually building here? Most nations answered with armies, economies, and expanding borders. Bhutan answered differently. Bhutan answered with a philosophy, a way of seeing human life so fundamentally different from the modern world's obsession with growth and accumulation that when it was first introduced to international leaders, they genuinely did not know how to respond. They had never heard an answer quite like it before. But before that philosophy can be understood, you must first understand the soul from which it grew. Bhutan's culture is inseparable from its religion. Vajrayana Buddhism here is not a weekend practice or a personal preference. It is the invisible architecture of everything. How homes are designed, how festivals are celebrated, how justice is administered, and how a king is expected to govern. Prayer flags strung across mountain passes are not decoration. They carry mantras into the wind, blessing every traveler who passes beneath them. Butter lamps burn in every home and every monastery. Small, steady flames that represent the light of wisdom pushing back the darkness of ignorance. The Dzongs, those magnificent fortress monasteries built by Jabdrung Namgyal centuries ago, remain the living centers of both spiritual and administrative life. Inside their whitewashed walls, monks study texts that are hundreds of years old, while government officials conduct the business of a modern democratic nation in the very same complex. Sacred and civic, ancient and contemporary, existing together without contradiction. Bhutan did not discover happiness. It simply never forgot that it was the point. At the end of every great journey, there is a moment of stillness, A moment where the roads stop, the information stops, and something quieter takes over. Something that does not need explaining, only feeling. You have traveled through this kingdom today not just as a viewer, but as a witness. And what you have witnessed is not simply a small nation doing things differently. You have witnessed proof that there is another way to exist on this earth, that the relentless pursuit of more money, more speed, more consumption, more noise is not the only story available to us, that a society can choose deliberately and repeatedly to put human dignity above economic ambition, that forests can be protected instead of cleared, that mountains can be revered instead of conquered, that a government can genuinely ask its people not, "How much did you earn this year?" but "Are you truly well?" Bhutan has not solved every problem. It faces real challenges: climate change threatening its glaciers, the tension between modernization and tradition, the complex realities of a young democracy finding its footing. It is not a perfect place. No place is. But what makes Bhutan extraordinary is not perfection. It is intention, the conscious, daily, deeply considered intention to build a nation around what actually matters. And perhaps that is the most uncomfortable thing this kingdom asks of us. Not to move to Bhutan, not to abandon our cities or our careers or our modern lives, but to sit, just for a moment, with one honest question that the Thunder Dragon Kingdom has been quietly asking the rest of the world for decades now. If not happiness, then what exactly are you building your life for? That question has no easy answer, but the fact that it is being asked at all by an entire nation as official policy is perhaps the most revolutionary act of the 21st century. If Bhutan made you think differently today, comment below. We want to know honestly, what would you personally sacrifice to live in a society that genuinely prioritized your happiness over your productivity? And subscribe with notifications on, because we are continuing this journey through the world's most extraordinary, most misunderstood, and most deeply human civilizations. Bhutan whispered something to the world. Make sure you are listening.